last time you were here was 2022. We were talking about the stats, and they were pretty jarring then. But we have, I mean, before we get into the particulars, what has the research found in the last 2 years?
It hasn't gotten any better.
Ah,
It
yeah.
hasn't gotten any better. We don't see the same precipitous drop that we saw after the bubble in 2021. As the pandemic started, people really began to reach for the Bible. They began to re-engage their faith. I think in times of disruption, and we can talk about that more later. But in times of disruption, people really do um, revisit their faith and reach for Scripture, and that's a great thing. But I think in this sort of post-COVID retrenchment, people have found their new normal, and they've largely found that new normal without God and without the Bible and without the church. They found that those things for many people were quite optional. And that's not true across the board. There is a very significant, very deeply committed group of followers of Jesus all across America, and they are doing great. They're even more vibrant than they've ever been before. There's great signs of hope in the next generation. But across America, big 100,000-foot view of things, it's not better.
Mm. Well, then let's talk about the bad news. Because as you said, it's not good. What are some of the particulars that we can see in the report that shows that it's not doing well?
One of the things that we track that I think is easy for people to understand is how many people actually use the Bible at all. And we say use because we recognize some people are maybe visually impaired, or maybe they're not particularly literate, so they might listen to the Bible, or they might be deaf and they might be viewing sign language Bible or something like that. So we're not trying to be cute when we say Bible users, but we're just trying to make room for the fact that not everybody interacts with Scripture in the same way that maybe I do or you do. So when we look at adult Bible users across America, and we go all the way back to 2011, basically from 2011 to 2021, on average, about half of Americans said they use the Bible at least 2 or 3 times a year on their own outside of a church service. But in 2022, that dropped to 40%, 10% decrease in one year. It dropped to 39% last year. It's 38% this year. So that means that for the first time on record, fewer than 100 million American adults say that they are reading the Bible at least 2 or 3 times a year. And that's a really low bar, but it's just an indicator of, like, is the Bible even part of the conversation for most people? We also look at a more granular view of things, where we look at Scripture engagement. Scripture engagement is more than just how frequently do you read the Bible, but it's what difference is it making in your inner life? What difference is it making in the way you live your life? And so if you put those things together, we have three big buckets of people. We have a group that we call the Scripture engaged, or the Bible engaged. And Bible engaged groups of people, that group of people, they're consistently interacting with the Bible. It's shaping their choices. It's really transforming their relationships, the way they see themselves, see others, understand God, all of that. Today, that's 18% of American adults, or 47 million American adults are Scripture engaged. Back in 2020, it was 71 million American adults, or 28%. It's a really, really big shift in just a few years. On the other end of the spectrum, we have what we call the Bible disengaged. Bible disengaged people, I would say, never use the Bible on purpose. They're not reaching for the Bible. They might go to a wedding and accidentally hear a Bible verse, or go to a funeral and accidentally hear a Bible verse, but this is not something that they're seeking out. If you go back to 2021, that was the low point for the Bible disengaged. It was 100 million American adults, 39% of the population. Today, it's 57% of the population, 151 million American adults. So it's more than 3 times the size of the Bible engaged population. And then in the middle, we have a group of people that we call the movable middle. You could think of them as Bible test drivers. These people are interested in Scripture, but they don't know it really well. If you handed them a Bible, they might not be able to find what they were looking for, but they want to know more, and they're kind of leaning in. They may be in church. They may be outside the church, wondering if there's a place for them in church. And it's 65 million American adults right now. That's a sizable population of people. And I think for us at the American Bible Society, it's the group of people that we're really focused on helping. Because if we can help 65 million American adults who are open to the Bible to deepen their meaningful engagement with Scripture, that's a huge win for the gospel. It's a huge win for the church. It's a huge win for the Bible cause. It's a huge win for America. And if we can't do that, then we need to rethink what we're doing.